Did you know that every year, over 250,000 murders in the United States go unsolved? That's hundreds of thousands of stories without an ending, families without answers, and killers who walk free. It's a chilling thought, and it's one of the reasons why we're so captivated by true crime. We're drawn to the mysteries, the psychology, and the search for justice. Today, we're diving into one of those stories. But this one has an ending so shocking, it will stay with you long after this video is over. It's a case that seems straightforward at first, but peels back layers of deception that are almost too incredible to believe. So, grab a drink, settle in, and prepare to question everything you think you know about the human capacity for deceit. In the quiet, unassuming town of New Hope, Pennsylvania, a community was rocked to its core. In 2012, a 91-year-old man named Anton Tony Kogan was found dead in his home. At first glance, it seemed like a tragic accident. An elderly man, living alone, who had perhaps fallen. The scene was clean. There were no signs of forced entry, and nothing appeared to be stolen. The local police initially treated it as a non-suspicious death. Tony was a beloved figure in his community, a war veteran who had lived a long and seemingly peaceful life. His neighbors described him as kind, generous, and sharp as a tack, even in his advanced years. But as the coroner began the routine examination, a small, almost imperceptible detail on Tony's body raised a red flag. It was a tiny puncture mark, easily missed. This one small detail would unravel a story, not of a simple accident, but of a meticulously planned murder, masterminded by someone no one could have ever suspected. The investigation that followed would expose a web of greed, manipulation, and betrayal that had been spinning for years, right under everyone's noses. The story really begins, not with Tony, but with a woman named Virginia. Virginia was a local elementary school teacher, well-respected and liked by her students and colleagues. She appeared to be the model citizen. She was also in a long-term, on-again, off-again relationship with a man named Patrick Duff. Their relationship was notoriously tumultuous, filled with breakups and reconciliations. Patrick was also, coincidentally, Tony Kogan's godson. Tony had been a father figure to Patrick his entire life, especially after Patrick's own father passed away. The bond between them was incredibly strong. Patrick often helped Tony with chores and errands, and Tony, in turn, treated Patrick like his own son. As Tony grew older and his health declined, he came to rely on Patrick more and more. Now, here's where the threads start to connect. Virginia Bertettis, a school teacher, was deeply entangled in this family dynamic. She knew Tony through Patrick and was aware of the close relationship they shared. She was also aware of something else. Tony Kogan was a wealthy man. He had saved and invested wisely throughout his life, amassing a small fortune. And as his health failed, he had made it clear that Patrick was his sole heir. All of his assets, his home, his savings, everything, was to go to his beloved godson. For Virginia, who was in a rocky relationship with Patrick and facing her own financial insecurities, this inheritance represented a potential lifeline, a future of comfort and stability. But there was a problem. Patrick, during one of their many off-again periods, had started seeing another woman. Virginia, consumed by jealousy and the fear of losing not just Patrick, but the future she had envisioned with his inheritance, began to spiral. Her obsession grew, and she reportedly started stalking Patrick and his new girlfriend. Her friends would later testify that she became fixated on the idea that if she could untap Patrick, no one could. And if Patrick moved on, she would lose her connection to Tony's wealth forever. This is where the story takes its darkest turn. The investigation into Tony Kogan's death was reopened, thanks to that small puncture mark. The autopsy revealed a lethal dose of a muscle relaxant and other drugs in his system. He had fallen. He had been poisoned. But who would do such a thing to a 91-year-old man? The police had no suspects. There was no forced entry, no theft. The motive was a complete mystery. The case went cold for months. Meanwhile, Virginia Bertettis and Patrick Duff's drama continued. It all came to a head 6 months after Tony's death. During a heated argument at Virginia's home, things escalated violently. The police were called, and when they arrived, they found a horrific scene. Patrick Duff was dead. He had been shot multiple times. Virginia claimed it was self-defense, that Patrick had attacked her and she had no choice but to shoot him. She portrayed herself as a battered woman, a victim who had finally fought back against her abuser. Her story was compelling, and initially, it seemed plausible given their volatile history. She was arrested, but her defense was clear. She was the victim. Now, get ready for the moment that changed everything. As detectives processed the scene of Patrick Duff's death, they made a stunning discovery. Tucked away in Virginia's purse was a handwritten note. It wasn't a grocery list or a random reminder. It was a confession, but it wasn't a confession to shooting Patrick. The note, in her own handwriting, was a detailed, step-by-step plan of how she had murdered Tony Cogan 6 months earlier. It was a cold, calculated checklist. The note detailed how she had obtained the drugs, how she planned to grind them up and mix them into a milkshake, and how she would give it to the unsuspecting elderly man. It even included details like wearing gloves to avoid leaving fingerprints and making sure the scene looked like an accident. She had written down her own murder plot. The motive was clear. With Tony out of the way, Patrick would inherit the money sooner. Her plan was likely to get back together with him and secure her financial future. But when Patrick started moving on with someone else, her plan B went into effect. She killed him, and in the chaos, forgot about the incriminating note she was still carrying. That one piece of paper, her own murder diary, was the key that unlocked both cases. The schoolteacher, the woman who claimed to be a victim, was revealed to be a manipulative killer who had murdered 2 people in a desperate, greedy plot to get her hands on an inheritance. So what does this shocking story teach us? It is a chilling reminder that the most dangerous people can be the ones hiding in plain sight, wearing masks of normalcy and respectability. Virginia Vatitis wasn't a shadowy figure from the underworld. She was an elementary school teacher. This case shows how corrosive emotions like greed and jealousy can become, driving an ordinary person to commit extraordinary evil. The meticulous planning, the sheer audacity of her actions, and the fact that she was ultimately undone by her own detailed notes is what makes this case so unforgettable. It's a testament to the fact that sometimes the most damning evidence comes directly from the killer themselves. Justice for both Tony and Patrick was served because a monster made a mistake and forgot to throw away her notes. Virginia Vatitis was found guilty of both murders and sentenced to life in prison. What do you think's the most shocking part of this story? The handwritten confession. The fact she was a school teacher. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you're fascinated by the dark side of human nature, be sure to check out our video on the H.H. Holmes murder castle right here. It's another story you won't want to miss. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss another deep dive into the world of true crime. Stay safe out there.